Hi there, my name is Nobukumalo. If it's your first time here, welcome to my channel. I hope you stay, and if you're coming back, welcome back. Thank you so much for your continuous support. Wow, thank you so much to all 3,700 of you who are subscribed to my channel. You guys are the reason why I'm still here. Believe me, there are so many times and days when I felt like, maybe let's just wrap this thing up. But each time I go through my analytics, I see that more and more people keep subscribing. So if you're new here, I value you as much as those who've been here from the start. And thank you so much. That said, if you're watching this video and you are not yet subscribed, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel by clicking the red subscription button below, and also click the notification bell right next to you so that each time I upload a video, you'll be notified. It's completely free. There's no charge to it, but it really helps my channel grow, and it helps people discover it, especially if you like the video at the end of it. Enough about that. It is a new month, the month of August. Yet another chance to do things right by ourselves, do things right by the people we love, to pick up on a few of those, goals that we had for the previous month that we didn't, get to. I, for one, started back on my fitness journey yesterday on the 1st, and this time around I got a personal trainer for accountability, and it was the hardest 1 hour of my exercise life, but I felt good after that. So this is a cue for you to go after that one thing that you've always wanted to go after. So today I am tackling a very important topic which affects a lot more people than we think. But for some reason, maybe because it feels embarrassing, I don't know the reason, it's something that we don't talk about a lot, and it's something that a lot of people hide, and a lot of us put on this face of confidence like, we know what we're about, and there's just not enough rooms or spaces to talk about it. And yep, as you saw from the title, that is imposter syndrome. So every time I'm about to talk about something, I like to do my research around about what is it about, because I always have my, my personal thoughts about it, but I like to read up on what other people might think or say. So the first thing that I did, as much as I've used this phrase over and over in my life, and I kind of know what it is, I went to Google and I was like, what is imposter syndrome? And the topic, rather the definition that came up struck me. So it says imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. And this is the Oxford Languages Dictionary. This definition really had me like, yeah, wow. And I think it's important for me, before I talk at you and I sound like, I got all the answers, I think it's important for me to say that I also, from time to time, suffer or struggle with imposter syndrome. I think it's important for me to say this because I have received a lot of messages, either in the comment section or those who happen to find me in my, DMs on social media platforms, of people saying, we really admire the work that you're doing. You seem like you're doing great in your career and how far you've come, and you seem so confident, and you seem like you have it all figured out. How can I be like that? Or you inspire me. And as much as I appreciate that, I just feel like it's important for me to be open and vulnerable with you, to say that yes, you might see this person who seems well-spoken and is confident in front of the camera, and I always sound like I kind of know what I'm talking about, but even behind that, and this is not to say this that you see here is a face, but to say two things can coexist, right? So confidence and the great self-esteem and imposter syndrome can coexist, right? So imposter syndrome doesn't have a face, so it doesn't have a description of that. If you see someone who's like this, maybe who's got a low self-esteem, who's shy, who's not confident, then they have imposter syndrome. It doesn't have a face. It can look like you. It certainly looks like me because I struggle a lot with it. So going back to the definition of imposter syndrome, like I read, it says it's the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved. Let's go with the first part, persistent. The thing about imposter syndrome is that it is so stubborn and resilient, right? You can have a track record of accolades, you can have all the evidence to back you up, but it is so persistent. It endures against all evidence to the contrary. You can have people telling you that you're great at what you do, that you deserve to be here, But imposter syndrome doesn't care. It always just, creeps up. And I like that it says that to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's efforts. Because more often than not, in the spaces where we feel like we don't belong, the spaces where we feel small or we feel like other people are, better suited or better than us, we have gotten there because we legitimately and genuinely worked hard to get there. I'll speak about myself. So I think I've always generally been an ace type student, right through my high school. A-level showed me flames. I did maths, biology, and chemistry, and it shook me a bit, but I always kind of knew I had it in me, the brains. And then I moved through uni, and I cruised. I was in the Dean's Merit list. I was in, awards and all that. And because of that, you kind of start to believe that I got this. I'm going to be great. I'm going to dominate those big spaces, and I deserve to be in the boardrooms. I deserve a seat at the table, right? Fast forward, I move here to London, and I go through my postgraduate studies. And suddenly, you meet people who are really smart. You meet people who've learned at Oxford, people who've learned at Cambridge, and suddenly the ground is level, right? So the firm that I was working for, and even the firm that I work for now, typically employs people from those top universities in the country. So our Cambridge, our Oxford, and all those. So whenever you get in a room, you're never quite the smartest person in the room because everyone else is equally smart. And so having come from a space where in uni I was dominating, and I was always in the top 5 whatever percent of my degree, and now coming to a place where everyone was in the top 5%, and everyone speaks better English. Maybe everyone came from a more posh school. Everyone is Caucasian and I'm black. There are all these things that start to creep in and could start making you feel like maybe you're a fraud, right? Maybe I actually don't deserve to be here. And I've felt that sometimes, and I'm like, is this really me? Am I really working and living in London? Did these people actually say we want that one and they picked me and they employed me? It sometimes feels like someone's going to find you out, right? That they're going to say, oops, we just realized that we made a mistake. You actually don't belong here, so we're kicking you out. Or oops, it was all a dream. you thought you could cut it. And so this is me just trying to get you guys to see that imposter syndrome really, it's so persistent and resilient. And even when you've scaled and have achieved, because of your hard work, you've achieved the best that you could achieve, it creeps up and says, you're not enough, you're not smart enough, you don't deserve to be in the room. I think we can go on and on about how it's made us feel, but I think as important as it is to identify our feelings, as important as it is to sit in them and allow ourselves to feel and be vulnerable, it's a very important thing for us to then talk about how we move on from there, right? Because sometimes it's tempting to sit in this pity party of, oh, I struggle from imposter syndrome, or it's so hard to be confident, and we like to wallow, and then we get people who also feel the same way, and we all wallow about how hard life is. But I think it's always important that even when we've identified the things that we're struggling with, we are in a constant journey of trying to figure out how to get out, how to overcome them. So I think I've already started on number 1. I think the first step is to identify those feelings and to allow yourself to feel. So I think you should be able to, in those moments when you're starting to feel shaky and you're starting to feel like, am I right? Am I the smartest? Am I smart enough? Am I good enough to be here? It's important for you to, in that moment, realize that this right here is imposter syndrome creeping up. This right here is that little voice that wants to discredit all the hard work that I've done to get here. This right here is a temporary feeling, and this right here is going to pass. So it's important to identify and acknowledge those feelings. And then once you've done that, quickly move on from that and say, okay, fine, I see you, imposter syndrome. I see what you're trying to do. However, I have evidence to back up the fact that I belong here. So what does that look like? Celebrate your achievements. So in my setup, right, in those moments when I am feeling like it seems like everyone else here is quicker and is maybe more intelligent or knowledgeable, I remind myself that throughout my tertiary education, I've graduated cum laude. So those are my achievements. I remind myself that I have graduated with distinction. I remind myself that, I have great grades. I remind myself that it took a rigorous application process, and over 100 or so people applied, and I was one of the few 5 that were chosen. So those are historic. And then I also remind myself of the fact that maybe a week ago I led a project and the partner on the matter said I did a stellar job. Or maybe I helped a trainee and the trainee said I'm really good at explaining stuff and making things easy to understand. And my husband has actually helped me with this, because he said, have this, I've forgotten what he calls it. I've really forgotten what he calls it, but basically he says, keep a note somewhere in your laptop, right? So whenever you get great feedback, whether from a partner or a junior subordinate or a senior, whenever you get a comment that says good job, no matter how small it is, good job, great work, great product, take that email, take that whatever it is, and file it somewhere. Like, just keep this record of all the times that someone has said great job or has appreciated the work that you've done. It acts as like a museum, right, of all the great things you've done. And it can help you in those moments when you're feeling like you suck at your job, like you can't do this. If you just go in there and you look at the many times people have been so positively impacted by you, the many times that people have praised you and praised your work, then it's easy to remind yourself of the fact that actually I am valuable. Someone has found me and my work and my input valuable, and that can very quickly and easily lift your mood and get you back into that space of knowing that you belong. And then the third thing then after that is to then shift your mindset. So I've seen the great stuff that I've done, so now I need to shift my mindset. I need to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. So this is too difficult for me. I don't think I can grasp this knowledge. I don't think I can get this concept, and replace that with I can do hard things, right? I have evidence to prove that I have tackled and grappled with difficult concepts and I've come out on top. So actually, I can do hard things. It's about speaking positive thoughts to yourself. I'm not really a manifest girl, but I kind of get the concept of how how people say whatever you put out there to the world comes back to you. I think it's important for you to speak kindly to yourself. So how you speak about yourself greatly influences the type of person that you become. So it's very important to not only think positive things, but say positive things about yourself, and also exude and show that confidence and positivity around yourself. And then the fourth thing, seek support, speak up, speak to other people. I said very early that this is actually quite common and happens to a lot more people than we realize. So a few weeks back, someone actually prompted this again in one of the groups that I'm in, a group with friends from church, and we're all in different professional backgrounds, right? And we started speaking about imposter syndrome, and everyone's like, girl, that's me too, I feel that way. So, and these are some people who've been in industry much longer than myself, who are leaders and managers, and everyone's like, what, I've been there, I felt that. And what that does is that it makes you realize really that truly this is not something that is unique to you, right? You're not less than. This is something that someone, like, we all struggle with. And speaking up is not, you're not just speaking up so that you can find comfort in numbers and then you can have this whole pity party about how you all suffer from it. But it's finding people who look like you, who've been through the stuff that you've been through and have still come out on top. It's finding a space for you to be vulnerable and exchange ideas and exchange coping mechanisms and see how people are day to day dealing with whatever it is that you're struggling with. And that way you get to equip yourself with tools also to do better. And by sharing your experience, you might just also help someone along the way. And that is why I felt that it's important for me to say at the start of this video that I also struggle from it, because I could have come here and spoken about imposter syndrome as a concept of something that I know of or I've read about. But sometimes if you're not relatable, if people don't feel like you've actually walked in their shoes, there's very little value that they can take from whatever you say. So in like manner, don't just speak out so that you get from people and you get, but also so that you give someone that little comfort to know that they are also not alone, that they can see that even someone who looks confident, who looks put together, is also struggling with the same things that they're struggling with. And then the fifth thing is you have to grow through challenges. I think one of the most efficient ways of getting over imposter syndrome is to continuously and consistently do hard things, to do harder and harder things. Because by doing hard things, you're saying, I feel like I'm not good enough, but look at this hard thing that I grappled with and I got to do, and now I'm better for it. And we generally grow through challenges, and the moment that we stop growing, the moment we stop learning, is the moment we begin to die. So you need to continuously challenge yourself to do those difficult things, to grapple with those things that are uncomfortable. If you're always in a space, in the state of comfort where everything is just easy and chill, and you're just operating it, just doing the bare minimum, remember that track record that we spoke about, that you should be keeping, of how great you've done. If you're always in your comfort zone and there's nothing new and exciting and big and noteworthy that you're doing, then there's a very good chance that you will for a very long time continue to, when met with challenges, feel like you're inadequate, because you haven't been challenging yourself and training your brain to get out of its comfort zone and think about hard things. And the other thing is that, sometimes you try new and hard things and you fail. But that failure in and of itself is a chance for you to learn something. It's a chance for you to learn resilience. Because if you fall and you failed, but you're able to pick yourself back up and start again, you have learned resilience. You have learned how to never stop, how to, show up even in the most uncomfortable and difficult situations. And you can one day look back and say, I've been there, I've been through the slump, I've tried this and failed before, but I got back up and I tried again, and look at me now. So I think to round it all up, imposter syndrome is something that a lot of people who have done great struggle with. I struggle with, maybe you struggle with, but you're not alone in this journey. And there are steps that we can take to make and feel better. And I spoke to someone about this, and they actually said, you would think that it gets better with time, or that at some stage it completely disappears, but it happens to the best of us, and it can be twofold. It can be disheartening that, am I always going to feel that way? But it can also be encouraging, because this was actually someone that I really look up to, who I thought has everything figured out, but I saw myself in them, and I was like, oh, okay, you look great, you look like you've done everything that there is to do, and yet you still struggle with this. So clearly it's not a me problem, right? Clearly I'm not the problem. If you struggle with it too, it's a problem that is common to anyone. It's important to realize that you are not an imposter. You are where you are because you deserve to be in that room. You are where you are because God saw it in you and saw it fit that you should be in that room. You are where you are because you've proven yourself time and time again. And you are where you are because you can do hard things. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it made you feel safe and seen and felt. And if you did like this video, if it did mean something to you, I'd appreciate it if you give a thumbs up. And if you do want to talk in the comment section, let's get talking. Let's talk about this. How have you managed to navigate it, and what tips can you give to those like me who still struggle with it from time to time? As always, thank you so much for giving me your time. I hope it was valuable. I will see you guys again next time. Goodbye.